Kia ora, my name's Thompson. I am a ranger here at the Department of Conservation in Dunedin, mainly working with pakake or New Zealand sea lions around our coast. When I see them in the water, it's really quite enjoyable for me. I'm really comfortable with them, understand their behaviours and know kind of how to admire them from a distance and stay calm in the water to really enjoy the interactions. I started to learn that there was no need to be worried when I saw them in the lineup and really started to appreciate their presence rather than having to get out of the water every time I saw one. It's really rare species, so it's actually incredibly fortunate that we get to share the lineup with them, and it's something that we should enjoy, similar to seeing a dolphin in the lineup rather than looking at it with trepidation. One of the main misconceptions I think about sea lions is they're always coming up in an aggressive manner. They're a really bold, curious animal. We often use the word boisterous because they do interact with each other in quite a high energy manner. And this is generally how they come up and approach humans. They often will pop up next to you, give you a really good eyeball, sometimes open their mouth and do a big loud cough. Doesn't mean that they want to bite you, it's just kind of their way of saying hello. They will often come up and put their nose on you, their arm, your leg. Even sometimes they'll open their mouth and kind of gently mouth you. And this is, just a way of them figuring out the world around them. They've got these amazing tactile sensors in their whiskers, and so really when they're kind of putting their nose and their mouth on things, it's just them figuring out what it is. You often see them interact with each other and they do all this kind of bluff charging and posturing, and it's really just a way of them interacting socially and establishing their hierarchies. And so then they turn that behaviour towards humans, and it can be seen that they're charging at you to attack you, but really it's just their way of approaching. So the best way of explaining their behaviour is similar to that of a small dog. If you're splashing and paddling fast and making all this hoo-ha in the water, they'll get excited, they'll see that as playing. And the best thing to do is understand that it's not an aggressive behaviour when they come and start interacting with you. The more excited you get, the more excited they get, and it can escalate, and then that can be pretty overwhelming because they are a pretty large animal. They're super fast in the water and they easily outmaneuver us, so it's definitely a little bit overwhelming when they get really excited. I find the best way of avoiding interaction, and something we try and tell everyone, is be as boring as possible. Generally, if you're just lying on your board, turn your back to them, don't make eye contact, really just kind of be as still as you can. They'll fairly quickly lose interest. You can also, if you're lying on your board, you don't have your feet kind of dangling in the water, it just gives them a little bit less to interact with. And it might be that they kind of nuzzle your board instead of a foot, which is a little bit more comfortable if you don't understand them quite so well. As well, if you've got a group of mates out with you, staying in a group is often a good way, as it disperses their focus a little bit between everyone. And that way, you can maybe sneak off and catch a wave while it's hanging out with a mate, and then vice versa, you can kind of take turns. Again, they see surfing a wave as a play behaviour, so sometimes it's best if you've got one around you to just let a wave go, and it might surf off on that wave, or it will just kind of lose interest. It's better to do that and stop the situation escalating. If you do find one approaches you, specifically if you're in the shallows as you're coming in or hopping out of the surf, the best thing to do is hold your board really still and in between you and the sea lion, and this will give something for them to come up, and the most they pretty much ever do is just put their nose, so something for them to feel again with their whiskers, and you can use that kind of as you move in and out of the surf. What you don't want to do is swing your board at them. This is going to aggravate them, potentially cause the sea lion harm or you harm. And they still are a wild animal, and it is still illegal to hurt a marine mammal. They are protected. So summer's breeding season for sea lions. From about November we start seeing pregnant females looking for pupping sites, and we also see an increase in activity from young animals who have just either been weaned and they're just kind of branching out into the world on their own and looking for social interaction. And often, you know, we see that in the form of interacting with surfers. You may remember a few years ago, one particular individual, Hoona, had a bit of a repertoire for surfing with people out at St Clair and down St Kilda, so that's activity that we often see this time of year. One thing to keep in mind is that they'll be using areas that you don't necessarily see them heaps through the rest of the year. So for instance, tracks down to surf beaches like at Smales, or even, you know, St Kilda. They also have a habit for using coastal roads this time of year. So if you're heading out for a Dawny or coming back from a surf at dusk, or really any time during the day, expect to see them on the road, and please take extra care when you're driving around those areas. Yeah, we're pretty lucky in the sense that we're seeing a positive conservation story happening right before our eyes. The sea lion population around Otago and the Catlins is increasing, so it's becoming the new normal to have these interactions. The population as a whole is actually doing really poorly. They're one of the world's rarest sea lions, and they're facing some really major declines down where their main colony is, down in the subantarctic islands. Don't think it's really an option for us as surfers to be hopping out of the water every time we see a sea lion. So the best thing we can do is, you know, really educate ourselves and learn as much about them as possible. And that just gives us a sense of comfortability in the water with them, and we can understand how we can share the lineup with them. I know they can be a very intimidating animal, and like me, you know, I was definitely afraid of them when I first moved down here, but there is, through understanding, there's a real option there to educate the fair and actually understand and learn to enjoy those interactions with them. With sea lions being a wild animal, we really do need to respect them as well and give them their space. When they're on the beach, they're there for rest, so we don't want to be approaching them any closer than 20 metres. And in the water, you know, don't force an interaction. If they come up to you, that's okay, just stay calm, but you don't want to be approaching them. In the end, we're in their habitat, so we need to learn how to share the beach with them and share the water with them as well. I'm around on the beaches for work and in the water after work, so if you do see me and, you know, want to come have a chat, sing out, and yeah, always happy to talk about surfing and sea lions. So, cheers.